Ladies, bienvenidos a 30 Minutes with.
I'm leaving.
Tonight, we're living La Vida Las Locas.
I needed some congas right now.
Meet the ladies of Las Locas Comedy.
And I still think there was nobody kind of doing a show that just featured mostly female-identifying Latina comedians.
Janice Rodriguez, Gwen La Roca, and Soli Santos defy stereotypes via stand-up comedy.
You don't fit those stereotypes of a Latina woman.
And I don't even have to say it.
We dive into it all, from the Me Too movement.
I think just being more conscious and aware and having a little bit more empathy of people.
To building the wall.
You have a cousin that voted for Trump.
I don't get it. I don't get how any Latino could have voted for Trump.
So your life is like a more ethnic Roseanne reboot.
We discuss how their comedy can bridge divides.
What's that saying? We're all, the world is our country and we're all citizens.
We are the world.
Just gonna say that, you beat me
We
to it.
are the children. Yeah.
So come hungry and leave happy with some food for thought.
Look at how skinny she is. She needs food.
For 20 cents a day, you can feed this Mexican lesbian.
This is 30 Minutes with Las Locas Comedy.
Ladies, bienvenidos a 30 Minutes with.
I'm leaving. This is ridiculous already.
So joining me today, we have Soli Santos, Gwen La Roca, and Janice V. Rodriguez.
Get the V, what?
Got
Yes.
the V. The V's in there. Why did you feel the need to create this space for Latina comics?
Wait, when did Trump get in office? I should know this.
2016, November 8th.
Dark times. Okay.
feels
So
like
right
12
when we were
years.
meeting and everything, it feels like, yeah, it was like after the taco sales Cinco de Mayo. It was just like one thing after another. So it was very like, Latinos were hot again, you know what I mean? Yeah. No, we just wanted to create a space with Latinas and other locals we love and just have a good time with it. And at the time, and I still think there was nobody kind of doing a show that just featured mostly female-identifying Latina comedians.
Right. So Soli, what do you hope people leave with after your set?
I hope that they kind of get a little better perspective of the world of being a Latina. You know, I think there's a lot of misperceptions and expectations of what a Latina is supposed to be.
No, in your set, you have some really funny lines that, like, by now you should probably have children and or grandchildren.
Yes.
You're more likely to stab someone.
and
And your ass should be of J-Lo proportions.
Yes.
Is it?
No.
And everybody automatically assumes that all Latinas have big asses, right? Got some badunk-a-dunk, got some junk in the trunk, right? Well, someone went in my trunk, stole my junk, because I got nothing.
So what has defying those stereotypes done for your comedy?
Well, I feel like, what I'd like to hope is that people realize that, you know, Latinas, we're people, we're women. You know, we're just trying to get through life just like everybody else. And in spite of what people perceive a Latina should be, some curvy, vivacious woman, loud or what have you. And I'm not saying that there's anything even wrong with that, you know, but we don't all fit in that. And then sometimes comments are made, or not growing up in a predominantly Puerto Rican neighborhood and then being told that I'm not Puerto Rican enough as a result of that. And it's like, for example, like Humboldt Park, right? You know, I love Humboldt
I'm
Park.
assuming you guys all live there together.
Right. We grew up all next door to each other. Right. So
We're cousins.
I did, you know, honestly, I didn't. I grew up in Wrigleyville. And so a lot of times there have been situations where people have actually said to me, oh, you're not really Puerto Rican. Because I didn't grow up in a neighborhood that is technically named after a German geologist. So, you know, it's like, why does that make me less of a Puerto Rican? Because I didn't grow up in that particular neighborhood. You know, it's things like that.
So Gwen, you often come on stage and like straight up identify that like you don't fit those stereotypes of a Latina woman.
And I don't even have to say it. I could just come out on stage and everyone gets it.
So what do you enjoy most about being able to be someone who most people probably don't meet day to day?
I interact with people and I present my true, genuine self, loving, sincere person. And then when I walk away, if they go, oh, holy shit, she was a nice lesbian, it changes my perspective. That's when I'm like, that's right, lady, and keep that lesson for everything, not just me. I hope that they keep that in mind when they meet people from different ethnicities, from different communities, I want them to remember that what they always think it is not always that way.
Janice, was that the purpose of creating this to begin with? Was just to kind of give people that different perspective, to go beyond that stereotype?
We specifically are always like going through like who we want to bring on, like just trying to get a really nice mix of people who may not be getting the opportunities in the Chicago scene.
So, Soli, why is it important to have Latina voices talking about Latina issues?
Because we're the ones that know about those issues the most. I'm still a Puerto Rican in the city of Chicago with 2 college degrees, and a single lady with no kids, and my Spanish is so-so, but people can understand me. Things like that. But it's like the perception people have of, I think, Latinas in the city here or just in general, and us just kind of being like, we can make fun of those things or we can embrace those things, but I feel like each one of us have our own perspective of how we deal with that. And so we just want to share it with the audience.
On your Spanish, entiendo más que puedo hablar.
You already lost her. You already lost her.
My Spanish is way better than that. Way
Mine,
better.
not so much.
But see, that's funny, because that's another thing. That's one of the many things. Oh, well, you're not a real Mexican, or oh, you're not a real Puerto Rican, you don't speak Spanish. It's in our blood. It's in our blood.
As I was taught in elementary, like, chupa me.
Well, like I've told some people, I'm like, we're not born dancing salsa attached to the umbilical cord. It's not like we.
Rice and beans.
I know I wasn't. I was like, we have to learn that stuff too, just like everybody else.
It's been a great couple of years for brown people, no?
Amazing.
Hardly in the news, hardly affected by the issues.
Starbucks loves us.
Topical and timely. Thank you so much.
You mean Starbucks.
Estrella Bucks.
When we get back from the break, we are going to dive into all these issues that are a little closer to these ladies. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 30 Minutes with everyone. We are with the ladies of Las Locas. I feel like I'm really trying to put that spin on it. We are celebrating Cinco de Mayo this week, which, Gwen, you are of Mexican heritage, correct?
Mexican and Guatemalan. My mom came in her early 20s as an immigrant, and eventually did her thing, studied, learned the language, passed the citizenship. Same thing with my dad, came in his early 20s from Guatemala. Studied, got a job, obtained his citizenship. So it was interesting.
What does your family say about it? Because I feel like I'm not privy to these conversations, like when doors are closed and we're around the kitchen table. When you hear like build the wall trending in the news or something was said about it, like what is said in your house?
It's infuriating. It's obviously to us it's ridiculous. It's saying that nobody here is tolerated unless you're from here, and it's like, who really is from here? Yes, we were born here, but really this was all founded by immigrants, and not just Mexicano immigrants, all kinds of different immigrants from different countries, from different places from all over the world. So it's like, I don't understand how people don't grasp that concept yet, that we're all a people. I know what's that saying? We're all. The world is our country, and we're all citizens.
We are the world.
Just gonna say that, you beat me.
We are the children. Yeah.
But it's true, you know what I mean? Like, people thought of things in that way, there would be so much less hatred going on. But everyone's so stuck on who got where first, when everybody's
Stop taking our jobs. Anyway. Stop taking our jobs.
Right. It's ridiculous. It's infuriating.
And so, Soli and Janice, Puerto Rican. Did you know that just a few months ago they ran a survey after the hurricane that 54% of Americans did not know Puerto Ricans were U.S. citizens?
Yes, I knew that. I've known that for years.
Did that shock you at all?
No, because I've grown up with that type of situation where people would ask me if you need a passport to go to Puerto Rico, what type of currency they use. You can't drink the water in Puerto Rico, and things like that. Like it's
like Mexico.
Yeah, that's what I always tell them.
Horrible stereotype.
Yeah, exactly.
Get your stereotypes right.
Yeah. So it didn't.
drink the water.
So all that to say, it didn't surprise me in the least.
Right, everyone's an expert in the States because they stopped there once on a cruise at the Bahamas, you know? Hey, but Puerto Rico, they need to pull themselves up on their boots. I need to stop with that accent, that's horrible, I'm sorry. But you know.
Like, Dad?
Get on the phone. Mr. LaGrow. Yeah, so that's the funny part of it. You know, they don't know, and it's like, let's educate you, but all of a sudden something bad happens. Now it's like, oh, you guys aren't part of us, and now, but I know everything because you're hearing this on the news, and unfortunately some very hateful rhetoric.
At the same time, I also realize that a lot of people aren't aware up until, again, recently with the hurricane. I don't remember ever being educated about Puerto Rico growing up. When you see a map of the U.S., they don't include Puerto Rico as a U.S. territory on the side.
There's only one thing I remember about like Puerto Rico being mentioned in my school, and it was like when it was like 90s, and there was like talk about like they're a Commonwealth, correct?
Correct.
And there was talks about like it becoming a state.
Possibly, yes.
So I submitted a new design for the flag.
Did you?
That's awesome.
To the White House. No, it was not
Already
awesome.
trying to change things. Already trying to change things. This is what I'm talking
What was
about.
on their corn stalks? Born in Puerto Rico?
But it was literally just like yellow with like 51 pink stars. It was the gayest thing a second grader could have done.
Love it.
It was
Glitter.
but
Puerto Rico.
Exactly. I was feeling it. But let's go back to that education part. So what would you like to see change in just how we approach history in this country?
People aren't being educated on it. They're not being given Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands and all the other U.S. territories. They're not being included into U.S. history.
Among a million other things that are being omitted and changed in our history.
I think they skip over like how half the United States was Mexico, right? Like they just skip over that. It's like the gold rush, and then whoa, what the hell? You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's actually what it says in the textbook. It's just like, what the hell? Then you flip the page.
Manifest destiny. Where did Mexico go? Oh, we made them go down. I mean, it's ridiculous. So when you don't know your history, you can't, understand the
Get
full
back
concept.
to where you came from. My
were
family, we didn't move.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So if you could if you're Puerto Rican princess for a day, okay?
for a day, she's like,
If you could make one aspect of Puerto Rican culture more a part of like what we would see in America day to day, what would it be?
So many things. The food. No. I think, God, that's like trying to choose so many wonderful things about the culture. The music's amazing. The food's great. I mean.
So far, I'm like bluegrass casseroles. Like that's all I got.
I feel like, just the culture. People, I think, are very warm and inviting there. So. I don't know. I mean, there's so many things to choose from. I can't pick.
I like how she's looking at you. There's so many things.
our amazing rhythm, sense of rhythm.
There's so many things.
We'll add music in this, so it's at least on beat.
I just wake up every morning to like some timbales, like, hey. That's weird. Don't ever
I
do that
needed
again.
some congas right now.
That is not how a conga sounds.
So Janice, you joke in your stand-up that you have a cousin that voted for Trump.
Her name is Maria Conchita Consuelo Rodriguez Garcia Gonzalez Rivera y Mercado de Gonzalez again, and she voted for Donald Trump. I'm like, you know what side of the wall you're gonna be on, right?
So your life is like a more ethnic Roseanne reboot. Like that's the reboot we deserved. What's that like?
It was weird. I thought she was joking. First off, then you realize, oh, you're for real. I don't get how any Latino could have voted for Trump. I don't get it. I think the rhetoric was so bad leading up to the election. I mean, like, and I kind of make the joke with like, that the name, and then maybe also, I know Soli talks about this about, well, we're Puerto Ricans are citizens, but like, they don't know that. Like, that's a joke Soli makes.
Right.
And so I'm like, and I know I'll touch on this ever so lightly, but there's some, I guess, tension. I've never felt that way between like Puerto Ricans and other Latino cultures in the U.S. because of maybe that citizenship issue.
Okay.
And so that really made me mad because I'm like, you were perpetuating that stereotype of like, well, we're good. And like leaving our other like Latino brothers and sisters to fend for themselves.
Which I feel like on top of being a Latina in Trump's America, you guys are also women.
What?
I know.
Double
I
whammy.
knew something was funny.
When we get back from the break, we will dive into all the women's issues. Get some pampering. It's gonna be wild. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 30 Minutes with everyone. We are with the ladies of Las Locas Comedy. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us. And we're about to dive into women's issues. Gwen, what about being a lesbian? I mean, what about...
All right. Wow. What about being a lesbian? Well, it's a fantastic transition.
I get paid for this.
Beautiful segue. I love it.
In the sense that this is an administration that like enacts transgender troop bans and religious freedom and like supports bakers not making cakes for gay couples. It's like, well, I should probably leave my own opinion out of it. What do you think?
I think it's bullshit. Is what I think. It's ridiculous. It's a big target on our backs of our community. You know, and it's not. It's many communities right now. We're feeling the Trump hatred. From the gay communities to our black and brown sisters and brothers. How does that affect your life and what goes on in your freaking living room? It doesn't.
just went 180, right? Like
everybody just wants to be happy. As long as you're not harming anybody, just get over it.
Soli, what does the world get wrong about women?
So many things, but I feel like one of the main things, and I'm biased in my answer for saying this, but I feel like the world, one of the things that the world gets wrong is that the belief or the misbelief that women are not physically strong and not physically capable.
Oh no, you're jacked. We put you on that end for a reason.
Women are proving that they are physically strong time and time again, and I feel like it's still always dismissed like women are like dainty and weak and need men to protect them. And I mean, I used to do MMA. I could take down some dudes that were probably 70 pounds heavier than me.
What about mental strength? Could you argue that women are mentally stronger than men?
Yes, absolutely. I think so. I think because of the challenges that we're constantly having to prove ourselves, we're constantly having to work twice as hard to get half as much credit. I think that has made you have to be emotionally and mentally strong.
78% credit, technically.
Not for brown women. Take another 20 cents off.
But I feel like in order to push through that, you have to be mentally strong. You have to be able to fight all those challenges that you have, those insecurities, those things, the negative things that people constantly reinforce in your brain about being a woman. You know,
I feel it's more of a given for men. They don't have to work as hard because it's already a thing. They've already been established as the dominant sex, and it's so women are constantly left like trying to be like,
we have to prove ourselves constantly.
No, right, and it's 2018 and we're still having this conversation. That goes to show in itself, and we're probably going to be 50 years later and somebody else is going to be
and we can do all this and still make people.
What do you say to people who do not identify as feminists?
It's such a long time to define that as such a good thing, and now that we finally have it, now everyone's tearing it up how it's a bad thing to be a feminist. It's like, it's just support people, Jesus Christ, like especially, you know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah.
Just support people, like, fuck.
We'll
women.
put on your headstone, just support people.
Just support people.
Jesus Christ. So Janice, do you think women are having this watershed moment? Are things changing? Do you feel it?
Like I said, I feel like before last year I was like the least woke person ever. Like I would kind of keep things to myself, but now I'm like, okay, we're having these conversations, and how do you feel about this, and like how do we get there, and just being more conscious about just things I'm doing and people I'm interacting with, and it kind of starts with that, and I think everyone and also trying to like affect change with the men in my life. I'm like, hey, you know, did you mean to say that? Did you, you know? And it's just like you have to kind of start those conversations. And before, I think I laid a little bit more back in the like, let me just see what everybody's doing.
So when you said correct the men in your life, like everyone was like, oh yeah. So like, what kind of things do you guys deal with that like men are clueless of, or seem to be?
How much time do we have here? How much time?
Extending.
Yeah, I think just being more conscious and aware and having a little bit more empathy of people. Not just women, just people. Just being empathetic of people in general.
Support people, Jesus Christ.
And like what they're going through, yeah.
Can you teach that empathy and kindness through comedy?
Ooh. Like I just did a comedy fest in Fort Wayne, and I was like, my husband was there, and we're talking about, I was like, hey, how did I do? And he's like, they were like really into it, but like you were like educating them. Like a couple jokes I do, like.
Well, yeah, it's Fort Wayne.
But I really was the only.
I have family there, that's why I could say that.
Oh, I really am the only Latin person in the room. Okay, let's do this. And that was kind of cool though, because I was
Only for like 30 miles, not even just the room.
For me, I think
But
that's
it was
one of the
cool.
highlights.
Like I mean, they liked me and everything, but it was like they really were like, teach us more about yourself, you know, your culture.
If you put it out there in an intelligent way, that's what I want to encourage people is to stop fearing the unknown. You know, don't react to stuff that you don't understand with fear and with hatred.
Don't shut down, ask.
If you don't understand, then f***ing learn or ask a friend. Listen. That's all it takes. Yeah. And
Escúchame.
And so hopefully our comedy encourages people to do that.
We're all human beings. We all want to be happy.
I just can't roll my fucking R's, okay?
That makes two of us.
Exactly.
So yeah, we're more similar than we are different. So why are we so focused on our differences all the time? We would be so much more empowered as a
people.
Yes.
As a human,
yes.
the human race. The human
yes.
race.
If we would focus on lifting each other up and supporting our similarities.
So how would the world be different if more women were in charge? Would you think that would be more easily facilitated?
I think women
I'd
are better
hope so.
listeners.
I would hope so, because we're more empathetic. We teach more, you know, like we're more compassionate.
This is going to sound a little scientific and biological, and I don't know what I'm talking about. But I feel like because we have less testosterone, there's
Speak for yourself.
less testosterone, but I think that the less aggressive, okay, and especially when you're making political decisions that can affect millions of people, and you don't have testosterone kind of, you know, this aggression or ego, this manly ego of
Yeah,
like,
it's swinging your around.
yes, I feel like,
Scientific term.
yes.
Swingeritis. Yeah, I don't know. I mean that.
Yeah, exactly.
Bio major. Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like that can be an advantage, you know, when
And
we're
not to say
dealing
that
with
there's-
world crisis.
And not to say that there's not women who can F it up for us
No,
either. There's
absolutely.
always going to be those pockets of folks who are
Just
too
power
busy
hungry.
competing
Sure.
with one another or being catty. I'm not saying that we're, you know,
Perfect.
No, of course not. But I do feel that we
can make
probably bring a lot more empathy and compassion to the table than our fellow men.
I mean, I think especially in the comedy scene, the
Most of
women
our
have been like very collaborative. We're all like, hey, we hear about something. I just
Yeah,
feel like
I didn't help.
like-
This is Las Locas. These girls formed Las Locas. They were gracious and awesome enough to invite me to come along because I've performed with them.
Because we felt like we needed to hire her because she really needs some money, because look at how skinny she is. She needs food.
always
For
starting.
20 cents a day, you can feed this Mexican lesbian.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for sitting down with me today. I am enlightened. I am less racist. It has been a pleasure, so thank you so much.
Thank you.